Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. Hare Krishna. Continuing our study and discussion from the 14th chapter entitled The Disappearance of Lord Shri Krishna. And so far in the first two sections, what we have seen that Arjuna departs for Dwarika to know on the further program and plan of Lord Shri Krishna, and he has not returned. How many months have passed? How many months have passed since Arjuna went for Dwarka? Last time we covered that. How many months? Yes, Manoram Bro?
Prabhuji, 7 months.
Yes, 7 months have passed, and Arjuna has not returned. And there has been all very unfavorable situations happening. Some very inauspicious signs indicating to Maharaj Yudhishthir that the Supreme Lord has left this place, he's left this planet. And when he is speaking to Bhima about him, then at the same time, Arjuna returns. So we'll go ahead. O Brahman Sonaka, while Maharaj Yudhishthir observing the inauspicious signs on the earth at that time, was just thinking to himself, Arjuna came back from the city of Yadus Dwarka. Tam padeyo nipatitam ayata purva maturam adho vadanam ab bindum sarjantam nayanadbhujaya. When he bowed at his feet, the king saw that his dejection was unprecedented. When Arjuna bowed, when Arjuna came back, so he offered his obeisances to his younger brother, to his elder brother, Arjuna being younger, to Maharaj Yudhishthira and also the king. So the king saw that his dejection was unprecedented, his face was downcast, and tears glided from his lotus eyes. This is Arjuna's appearance. Vilokya udvigna hridayo vikchayam anujam nripa prikchati sma sruhin madhe samsmaran naraderitam. Seeing Arjuna pale due to heartfelt anxieties, the king, remembering the indications of the sage Narad, questioned him in the midst of friends. Yudhishthir uvacha kachit anartha puryamna swajala sukham ashate madhubhoja dasharha satvata andhaka varsnayo. Maharaj Yudhishthir said, my dear brother, please tell me whether our friends and relatives, such as the Madhus, Bhojas, Darshahas, Arhas, Satvatas, Andhakas, and members of the Yadu family, they are all passing their days in happiness. You heard these words? Madhus, Bhojas, Dashrahas, Arhas, Satvatas, Andhakas, and the member of the Yadu family. So Vishnu Maharaj is inquiring from Arjuna, why is he mentioning all these names? Who will answer? Where are all these terms coming from? What makes Yudhishthira Maharaj ask such a question and such names? Those who have read Krishna book should be able to answer. I have given you the hint. And those who have not read, they will only be, bewildered to why these terms are being used. Yes, Ramya. I don't expect Dayashil to answer. Is he wanting to answer this question? He's smiling because he does not read. He has no time to read. Yes, you answer.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, actually all these dynasty together constitute the Jadu dynasty.
Yes, very good. Precise answer. Perfect answer. All these, they are all the clans of the Yadus. They are all inclusive. So he wants to know about all of them. They were the rulers of Dwarka. So Krishna represented all of them. Shuro Mahatma Kachit Swasti Yaste Vatha Marisha Matula Sanuja Kachit Kushalya Anagdundubhi. Is my respectable grandfather Surasen in a happy mood? So what he says? Sura Mahatmana Kachit. Surasen was still the uh, king. So is my grandfather Surasen in a happy mood? Then he says, are my material uncle Vasudev and his younger brothers all doing well? One name of Vasudev is Anakadundhubi. Anyone knows from where this name comes? Anakadundhubi. Again, those who have read Krishna book, they will know. Prabhupada gives the description. कोई नहीं पढ़ता, all are blank. Pranab, you have not read the Krishna book?
Not read, Prabhuji.
So what are you waiting? Next life? Huh?
I did.
Manoram, you don't have Krishna book with you?
Yes, Prabhuji, I have, but I could not
But
complete.
no time to read. Because if you read the preface of that book, Prabhupada says just by reading this one book alone, Krishna book, Prabhupada writes such a big, declaration. Prabhupada says just by reading this book alone, one will fructify the love for Krishna. So why should you read? Because the love is secured for Maya. How can it be directed towards Krishna? So better not to read. Huh? We should read it many times. Actually speaking, ideally Prabhupada has said that before sleeping every day we should read Krishna book. And if you do that, Krishna will appear in your dreams. Otherwise, Maya will keep bewildering us. Okay, what is the meaning of Anakadundubi? Why Vasudev is called Anakadundubi? If you don't know, then find out. I will not answer. I want to hear from you. So there is a series of questions he is inquiring about all others. Saptva swa sarastat patnyo matulanya sahatmaja ashate sashnusa kshemam devaki pramukha swayam. His 7 wives, headed by Devaki, are all sisters. This is Vasudev's wives. Are they and their sons and daughter-in-law all happy? Kachid Raja Huko Jivati Asat Putro Asya Chanuja Hridikas Sashuto Akruro Jayanta Gada Sarana Asate Kushalam Kachid ये च शत्रुजित आदय काचिदस्ते सुखम रामो भगवान सात्वतम प्रभु. Our Ugrasen, whose son was the mischievous Kamsa, and his younger brother Devak still living? Are Hridika and his son Kritavarma happy? Are Akrur, Jayant, Gada, Saran, and Shatrujit all happy? How is Balram the personality of Godhead and the protector of the devotees? Hastinapur, the capital of the Pandavas, was situated somewhere near present New Delhi. And the kingdom of Ugrasen was situated in Mathura. While returning to Hastinapur from Dwarika, Arjuna must have visited the cities of Mathura, and therefore the inquiry about the king of Mathura is valid. Amongst various names of the relatives, the name of Ram or Balaram, the eldest brother of Lord Krishna, has the word the personality of Godhead added because Lord Balaram is the immediate expansion of Vishnu Tattva as Prakash Vigraha of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Lord. Although one without a second expands himself as many other living beings, the Vishnu Tattva living beings are plenary expansions of the Supreme Lord, and thus all of them are qualitatively and quantitatively equal with the Lord. Qualitatively and quantitatively, both. But expansion of the Jeev Shakti, the category of the ordinary living beings, are not at all quantitatively equal with the Lord. One who considers the Jeev Shakti and the Vishnu Tattva to be on the equal level is considered as a condemned soul of the world. Sri Ram or Balram is the protector of the devotees of the Lord. Baldev acts as the spiritual master of all devotees, and only by his causeless mercy are the fallen souls delivered. Sri Baldev appeared as Sri Nityanand Prabhu during the advent of Lord Chaitanya, and the great Lord Nityanand Prabhu exhibited his causeless mercy by delivering a pair of extremely fallen souls, namely Jagai and Madai. Therefore, it is particularly mentioned herein that Balram is the protector of the devotees of the Lord. Only by his divine grace can one approach the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, and thus Sri Balram is the mercy incarnation of the Lord, manifested the spiritual master, the savior of the pure devotees. So Prabhupada is emphasizing on the last line, which talks about last two lines, Kechid Aste Sukham Ramo. Ramo is Lord Balram, who is Bhagwan Satvatam Prabhu. Satvatam are the pure devotees. The Prabhupada says of the devotees, and he is Prabhu, who is the protector. Why? What is the position of Lord Balaram? Prabhupada says that there is practically no difference. Prabhupada said many statements about the similarities of Krishna and Balaram. Who remembers what Prabhupada said about Krishna and Balaram? How they are qualitatively and quantitatively the same? Some examples. Boji, so many times we have discussed about Balaram Tattva. Yes, Pranab Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, one example is given the marbles of the temple, Vrindavan temple. One is black and one is white.
Yeah, Prabhupada says there is no difference. There is the only difference is in the
Color.
color. And Prabhupada pointed to the marble floor. If you come to Vrindavan marble floor, you see in the temple hall, there is one black and one white besides each of them. And Prabhupada said this is the difference. There is no otherwise there is no difference. Very good. Perfect example. What else? What are the other examples? Boliye. We have discussed so many times appearance of Lord Balram. Yes, there, Shri Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Lord Balram is the servitor Godhead, Prabhuji, servitor Godhead.
I'm not asking the difference. I'm saying asking the oneness. Both exist. So we are discussing the oneness here. Quantitatively and qualitatively the same. What you are, presenting is the difference. Think. Yes, Ramya.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, once you told that Lord Balaram is just looks like the white cloud of spring, and Lord Krishna looks like the black cloud of rainy day.
Yeah. Prabhupada says that one is like the spring cloud, white, and the other is like the monsoon cloud. This is not I said, this Prabhupada says. Yes, again the same thing. The difference is only of the color. Very good. Very good. Both very genuine, authentic examples. Others? I want answers from you. I will not give the answers. Find out. I'll proceed. Find out. Do this exercise. Prabhupada says only by his divine grace can one approach the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, and thus Shri Balaram is the mercy incarnation of the Lord, and how he manifests as a spiritual master, the savior of the pure devotees. Very powerful statement. Please try to deliberate what it means. That only by his divine grace can one approach the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, and thus Shri Balaram is the mercy incarnation. Pradyumna sarvavrishninaam sukhamaste maharatha gambhiro rayo aniruddho vardate bhagavanuta. How is Pradyumna, the great general of the Vishnu family? Is he happy? And is Anuruddha, the planetary expansion of the personality of Godhead, faring well? Pradyumna and Anuruddha are also planetary expansions of the personality of Godhead, and thus they are also Vishnu Tattva. At Dwarka, Lord Vasudeva is engaged in his transcendental pastimes, along with his planetary expansions, namely Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Anuruddha. And therefore, each and every one of them can be addressed as the personality of Godhead, as it is mentioned in connection with the name Aniruddha. Bhagavanutta. Yes, Vadate Bhagavanutta. So all these personalities, they are being inquired. Sushena Charudeshenascha Sambha Jambavati Sutha Annecha Kashni Pravara Saputra Rishaya Bhadaya. Are the chieftain sons of Lord Krishna such as Sushena, Charudeshena, Sambha, the son of Jambavati, and Rishabha along with their sons, all doing well. So these are the sons of Krishna from various queens. As already mentioned, Lord Krishna married 16,108 wives, and each of them had 10 sons. The Prabhupada is giving the calculation. Therefore, 16,108 into 10, 161,080 sons. They all grew up, and each of them had as many sons as their father. And with great grandsons, the whole aggregate was something near 10 million family members of the Lord. 10 million is how much? 1 crore. The Lord is the father of all living beings who are countless in numbers. Therefore, only a few of them are called to associate with the Lord in his transcendental pastimes of the Lord of Dwarka on this earth. It is not astonishing that the Lord maintained a visible family consisting of 10 million members. It is better to refrain from comparing the Lord's position to ours, and it becomes a simple truth as soon as we understand at least a partial calculation of Lord's transcendental position. King Yudhishthir, while inquiring about the Lord's sons and grandsons at Dwarka, mentioned only the chieftains amongst them. But it was impossible for him to remember all the names of the Lord's family members. Why? It was so small. The number was so few. How many? What was the count? Manini, Mataji? क्या
1 crore प्रभु जी। हरे
हाँ
कृष्ण।
1 करोड़ नाम लेने में 1 साल बीत जाएगा, कई साल बीत जाएंगे नाम ही लेने में। तथैव अनुचरासुरे श्रुतादेवो श्रुतादेवो उधवादय सुनंदानंद शीर्षण्य ये चान्ये सत सत्वतर्षब्द अभः अपि स्वस्ति असते सर्वे रामा कृष्णा भुजाश्रया अपि स्मरन्ति कुशलम् अस्माकं वद सौर्दः। Also Shutadev, Udhava, and others including Nanda, Sunanda, and other leaders of liberated souls who are constant companions of the Lord, are protected by Lord Balram and Krishna. Are they all doing well in their respective functions? Do they, who are eternally bound in friendship with us, remember our welfare? So he is inquiring about almost everyone, those who are in the leadership position. The constant companions of Lord Krishna, such as Udhava, are all liberated souls, and they descended along with Lord Krishna into the material world to fulfill the mission of the Lord. The Pandavas are also liberated souls who descended along with the Lord Krishna to serve him in his transcendental pastimes on this earth. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 4.5, the Lord and his eternal associates, who are also liberated souls like the Lord, come down to this earth at certain intervals. The Lord remembers all these descents, but his associates, although liberated soul, forget due to their being Tatastha Shakti, or the marginal potency of the Lord. That is the difference between the Vishnu Tattva and the Jiva Tattva. The Jiva Tattva are infinitesimal particles of the Lord's potency, and therefore they require the protection of the Lord at all times. And to the eternal servitors of the Lord is pleased to give all protection at all times. The liberated souls never therefore think themselves as free as the Lord or as powerful as the Lord, but they always seek the protection of the Lord in all circumstances, both in the material world and in the spiritual world. Very important aspect. They never think themselves free as the Lord or as powerful as the Lord, but they always seek the protection of the Lord in all circumstances, both in the material world and in the spiritual world. This dependence of the liberated soul is constitutional. For the liberated soul are like sparks of fire that are able to exhibit the glow of fire along with the fire and not independently. Independently, the glow of the spark is extinguished, although the quality of fire or the glowing is there. Thus, those who give up the protection of the Lord and become so-called lords themselves out of spiritual ignorance come back again to this material world, even after prolonged tapasya of the severest type. That is the verdict of all Vedic literature. Bhagwan api Govindo Brahmanya Bhakvatsala Kachit Pure Sudharmayam Sukhamaste Suhadvrita. Is Lord Krishna the Supreme Personality of Godhead who gives pleasure to the cows? Bhagwan api Govinda. The senses and the Brahmanas, Brahmano Bhaktavatsala, and who is very affectionate towards his devotee, enjoying the pious assembly at Dwarkapuri surrounded by friends. What is the name of the assembly? Sonika is answering. Yes, Sonika?
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी। सुधर्मा सभा।
Yeah, it is mentioned here in this book. But see, Prabhupada, he is not mentioning the name here, he is mentioning the assembly, the assembly house or the assembly hall. Here in this particular verse, the Lord is described as Bhagwan, Govinda, Brahmanya, and Bhaktvatsala. He is Bhagwan Swayam, or the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, full with all opulences, all powers, all knowledge, all beauty, all fame, and all renunciation. No one is equal to or greater than him. He is Govinda because he is the pleasure of the cows and the senses. Those who have purified their senses by the devotional service of the Lord can render unto him real service and thereby derive transcendental pleasure out of such purified senses. There are many verses which will come here to play. He is Govinda because he is the pleasure of the cows and the senses. Those who have purified their senses by devotional service of the Lord can render unto him real service and thereby derive transcendental pleasure out of such purified senses. In the impure condition, the living being cannot derive any pleasure from the senses, but being illusioned by false pleasures of the senses, he becomes a servant of the senses. Therefore, we need the Lord's protection for our own interest. The Lord is the protector of the cows and the Brahmanical culture. A society devoid of cow protection and Brahmanical culture is not under the direct protection of the Lord. Just as the prisoners in the jail are not under the direct protection of the king, but under the protection of the severe agent of the king. Without cow protection and the cultivation of the Brahmanical qualities in human society, at least for a section of the members of society, no human civilization can prosper at any length. By Brahmanical culture or the development of the dormant qualities of goodness, namely the truthfulness, equanimity, sense control, forbearance, simplicity, general knowledge, transcendental knowledge, and firm faith in the Vedic wisdom, one can become a Brahmana and thus see the Lord as he is. And after surpassing the Brahmanical perfection, one has to become a devotee of the Lord. So that his loving affection in the form of proprietor, master, friend, son, and lover can be transcendently achieved. The stage of a devotee which attracts the transcendental affection of the Lord does not develop unless one has developed the qualities of a Brahmana as above mentioned. The Lord is inclined to a Brahmana of quality and not of false prestige. Those who are less than a Brahmana by qualification cannot establish any relation with the Lord. Those who are, Prabhupada is saying, very importantly, those who are less than a Brahmana by qualification cannot establish any relation with the Lord. Just as the fire cannot be kindled from a raw earth unless there is wood. Although there is a relation between the wood and the earth, since the Lord is all perfect in himself, there could be no questions of his welfare. Dwarkapuri, where pious men assemble, the Lord stays only. The Lord stays only where pious men assemble and take pleasure in glorifying the Supreme Truth. Maharaj Yudhishthir was anxious to know about the pious men and their pious acts in the city of Dwarka. So in this way his inquiry continues. It's a long inquiry. And the rest of it I will cover tomorrow. I'll stop here. So we see a detailed inquiry being pursued and raised by Maharaj Yudhishthir. And he is wanting to know because Arjuna spent 7 months in Dwarka. So he is inquiring about all the close associates of Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna. Any question or any discussion? Yes, Sonika?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, Yudhishthir Maharaj asked about Nanda, Sunanda, and other clans of Yaduvans also who were not residing in Dwarka. They were residing somewhere else, but still it was asked.
Very good. Very, very intelligent question. See, Arjuna did not board a helicopter or an airplane. How did Arjuna travel from Hastinapur to Dwarka? I'm asking you, Sonika. You are hearing?
Yes, Prabhuji. Sorry, I missed that part, Prabhuji.
I'm saying that Arjuna did not board a flight to Dwarka. That it took off from Hastinapur and landed in Dwarka. He had to travel. And how he traveled? He traveled through the horses. And they were covering from one province to another province. So Prabhupada writes in one of the purports that Arjuna is expected to come through Mathura. That was the route. So he must have visited Mathura, he must have visited Braj. So he's inquiring. So Yudhishthira Maharaj is inquiring. In one of the purports, Prabhupada writes that what we have covered today, in one of the purports it is mentioned. So Yudhishthira Maharaj is inquiring about these personalities on this understanding that Arjuna must have visited Mathura and Braj also and met the personalities. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Very good. Very intelligent question. Anything else which is registered in anyone's heart from all these names and all these inquiries? Yes, there, Shilpa.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare
That Pandavas are like they are liberated soul, Prabhuji. That
Yes.
was the time I heard. I mean, they are the pure devotee. They are associated
Yes.
with the soul, so they are
Yeah.
liberated.
Yes. Yes, they are. They are the Pandavas not the eternal associates of the Lord?
Yes, Prabhuji. They are Prabhuji.
The eternal associates, are they not liberated?
Yes, Prabhuji. In Bhagavad Gita also Lord says that, oh Arjuna, you and me have taken birth in many, many lifetimes, but I remember all of them, but you don't remember. In I think it is 5th chapter.
Prabhupada has answered in the purport. I read it. Who will answer? Prabhupada is explaining this part. Prabhupada explains. I read that purport. Just now I read it. Prabhupada gave the explanation. What was the explanation? Who will answer? This is how we are hearing. This reveals the level of our hearing. सुना आपने रविंद्र प्रभु? प्रभुपाद ने क्या उदाहरण बताया था, क्या कारण बताया था? अभी पढ़ा हमने, अभी जस्ट पढ़ा. नहीं सुना आपने?
Prabhuji, Brahminical culture is barambar. Those who are less than Brahmana by qualification cannot establish.
नहीं, उसमें लिख रहे हैं. बताया प्रभुपाद जी ने. अब मैं वो खोल के दिखाऊं आपको पटपट. देखो यहाँ से. The Pandavas are also liberated. This is in the verse number 32 and 33. Prabhupada says, the constant companions of Lord Krishna, such as Uddhav, were all liberated souls, and they descended along with Lord Krishna to this material world to fulfill the mission of the Lord. The Pandavas are also liberated souls who descended along with Lord Krishna to serve him in his transcendental pastimes on this earth. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 4.5, the Lord and his eternal associates, who are also liberated souls like the Lord, come down to this earth at certain intervals. The Lord remembers all these descents, but his associates, along although liberated souls, forget due to their being Tatastha Shakti or marginal potency of the Lord. That is the difference between the Vishnu Tattvas and the Jiva Tattvas. The Jiva Tattvas are infinitesimal particles of the Lord's potency, and therefore they require the protection of the Lord at all times. And to the eternal servitors of the Lord is pleased to give all protection at all times. The liberated soul never therefore thinks themselves as free as the Lord or as powerful as the Lord, but they always seek the protection of the Lord in all circumstances, both in the material world and in the spiritual world. This dependence of the liberated soul is constitutional, for the liberated soul are like spark of the fire and are able to exhibit the glow of fire along with the fire and not independently. Independently, the glow of the fire spark is extinguished, although the quality of fire or the glowing is there. Thus, those who give up the protection of the Lord and become so-called lords themselves out of spiritual ignorance come back again to this material world even after prolonged tapasya of the severest type. That is the verdict of all Vedic literature. What you have understood? There shall go. Prabhupada gives such an elaborate explanation.
Prabhuji, there are two tattvas, the Vishnu tattvas and Jiva tattvas. And Jiva tattvas they require always protection, Prabhuji, from the Lord.
They are marginal. They are
They're
marginal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And being marginal, they forget. They forget, Prabhuji.
Yeah, they have the tendency of forgetfulness.
And liberated soul, they always seek protection of the Supreme Lord because that is the constitutional position of the Jiva.
They are always dependent.
They're always dependent on the Supreme Lord.
That is what the Pandavas were doing. They were
Yeah,
always
always.
dependent on Krishna. They never did anything independently. Okay, we should hear when this point was being given. This is such an important philosophical point. So our ears and our heart should become very open to receive this philosophical understanding. Most of the time, we are not interested. Our heart is not interested to hear. It is still deliberating some sense gratification. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you very much. So tomorrow, Sonika, you'll be able to give the presentation.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you. So Pradeep Prabhu, tomorrow will be the presentation. Pradeep is not there? You are there, na, Pradeep? Your picture is not coming. Yeah, so you please mention Shonika's presentation. That will be on the 8th chapter. Very beautiful chapter. The prayers of Kunti Devi. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Prabhupada.